Welcome into National Prep Stars Weekly. I'm Michael Caratanudo. We have some great highlights this week from some big games across the country last week. But if you want to see full game highlights and even more games, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at PassportplayasTV, where you'll see a lot of prep highlights, great football highlights from across the country. You want to find out where some guys are headed to next year, who has interest in them, some big plays. If you have suggestions for us, and you can go on, you can check out these highlights, you can check out full game highlights. But again, we want to get you involved here on National Prep Stars Weekly. So let us know what you see, who you have, because there are, again, a ton of great players across the country. Recruiting is a 365-day-a-year thing, so we know how coaches get, but these players want to see who's coming up. Passport Players TV on YouTube. Subscribe, check it out. Like I said, you'll see full game highlights, and you can also find out where players are going, and if you have suggestions for us too as well. So, but that being said, let's get to the highlights. Our first game as St. John Bosco, the #1 team in California and in the country. They came in at 2-0. They had victories over Timpview, who was 49-0, or 49-0, pardon me, and Garces Memorial 56-0. They were taking on Mililani out of Hawaii. A big game there, and they are led by the #1 college prospect for 2020. This quarterback is unbelievable. DJ Uigalele, the #1 prospect for the 2020 class. This kid is 6'5", 238 pounds. So the junior is just rocking it. When you talk about rocking it, he had a sick game. He was 26 of 32 for 373 yards and 6 touchdowns. So crushing it through the air. But they also got it done on the ground as they set the tempo with their first offensive play of the game. George Holani, the running back, had an 80-yard touchdown run. He gets to the outside, picks up a convoy, and just cruises to the end zone for the touchdown run there by Holani. But then when you look back at what DJU did, again, like I said, 26 of 32 for 373 yards and 6 touchdowns. Corey Bowman, the Stanford commit, the wide receiver, had 7 catches for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns of 27, 30, and 25 yards. Christopher Hudson, who's a USC commit, so 2 teammates that are going to be Pac-12 rivals in Hudson and Bowman. But Hudson had 6 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. And Jake Bailey contributed 7 catches, 78 yards, and 1 touchdown for Bailey. But it wasn't all great for St. John Bosco. They overcame 21 penalties, racking up 187 yards worth of penalties. And Chris Steele, the cornerback, the USC commit, man, he had a tough night. He had a solid night, but at the same time, he had a tough night. He had 2 holding penalties and got called for a pass interference. The only blemish you could really say on a team that just dominated as St. John Bosco stays undefeated, goes to 3-0, beating Mililani 52-14. So again, you need to check out DJU. Again, this #1 prospect for 2020. A lot of offers coming in. And again, this is just a kid that is very, very solid. So, but we're going to switch gears now. We're going to go actually across the country where Bergen Catholic, the non-public Group 4 state champs last year from New Jersey, traveled down to Georgia to take on Grayson, who last season had lost to North Gwinnett in the second round of the playoffs. Grayson coming in at 1-0. They beat Tucker from Georgia last week, 48-7. Bergen County, this was their opening game. So you talk about a tough way to open up the season, traveling to Georgia to take on Grayson. Plus, unfortunately, they had to play without their Yale commit, the running back, Josh McKenzie, who unfortunately in their scrimmage, it was confirmed he tore his ACL, so he will be out for the year. But again, he is headed to Yale. Just a tough player to lose, their running back who they were depending a lot on. But for Bergen County, oh man, what a night it was. Their quarterback, Andrew Bull, didn't have the biggest of numbers, but 12 for 19, very accurate, 144 yards, and threw 2 touchdowns. Check this out. Both of them, though, on 4th and 8 plays. The first was to Cody Garrett on a 29-yard reception, and that gave Bergen Catholic a 7-0 lead. The second 4th and 8 was to Amar Gist, who caught a 29-yard touchdown reception. But the biggest play on that drive before the Gist touchdown was a 37-yard strike that Andrew Boll just delivered a dart to Tyler DeVera with Grayson. They were closing the gap, but then they get the touchdown. Ramir Johnson, the running back for Bergen Catholic, he had 28 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a big night for Ramir Johnson. Grayson, a little bit of a tough night. They had 5 fumbles. They lost 3 of them. They also had committed 13 penalties, which again did not go well for them. But Bergen Catholic after that again answered the questions, led by again Ramir Johnson. Like I said, had 130 yards rushing, and Bergen Catholic gets the huge win. The number 5 team in the country coming in was Grayson, and Bergen Catholic takes them out 34-22. And after the game, NJ.com reported that Grayson defensive tackle, the Florida State commit, True Thompson, walked over to the Bergen Catholic celebration and told them that they had just earned Grayson's respect. So a very, very huge win for Bergen Catholic as, again, they rally around the loss of senior running back Josh McKenzie, but they get the big win, and that could go very, very far for them. A team that was ranked 19th in the country looking to take a big hop this week. And now we'll actually head back across the country, though, as De La Salle was taking on Bishop O'Dowd. De La Salle came in at 2-0 with wins over Folsom. They shut them out 14-0, and then Central Catholic out of Modesto 35-7 as they were taking on Bishop O'Dowd, who came in at 1-0 because of air quality and fire issues. They have a forfeit win over Kennedy. So that was listed as. So this their Bishop O'Dowd's first true test. And as they took on De La Salle, Bishop O'Dowd had a pretty famous guy in the stands. John Madden was actually there because he was checking out the JV game beforehand because his grandson is the quarterback for Bishop O'Dowd. But Madden, well, he only lasted through the first half, and I will tell you why. Because it was a very close game in the second quarter. It was a 21-10 game. But then De La Salle just turned it on. They outgained for the whole game the Dragons 426 to 302 yards, and they scored 38 points in the second quarter. Yes, 38 points by De La Salle. And you talk about 4-star recruits having a great night. Henry To'oto'o had 2 rushing touchdowns of 15 and 2 yards to help lead De La Salle. But then Isaiah Foskey had a 21-yard pick six. Big night for Foskey. Also in on the sack, the quarterback sack, which caused a safety. So in the span of 2 minutes and 36 seconds, they put up 23 of their 38 second quarter points. Unbelievable for De La Salle. But mentioning Isaiah Foskey, he had just tweeted out, he said after the game he was going to tweet out his top 5, his final 5 in recruiting, colleges he wants to go to. Well, he just tweeted them out. And in no specific order, he said, but he listed Washington, Notre Dame, Michigan, California, and Ohio State as his last 5 that he's considering. So again, two Pac-12 schools in Washington and California, 2 Big Tens in Ohio State and Michigan, and then of course the big independent in Notre Dame for Isaiah Foskey. So it'll be very interesting to see over the next few months where he chooses to go. But there was a 4-star recruit on the other side, pretty much the only bright light for Bishop O'Dowd, and that was Austin Jones, the Stanford-bound running back and a top high school prospect in California. Check this out. He accounted for 252 of the 302 yards the Dragons had. He had 2 touchdown runs of 34 and 80 yards. He also had 39 yards receiving. So Austin Jones just proving again, well, why he's a top prospect in California. But Stanford, again, just They win. They get smart kids. They just keep loading up, and Austin Jones seemingly fits that bill. But it was all De La Salle. Junior running back James Kobe returned the second half kickoff for 89 yards and the touchdown, and they cruise to a 58-16 victory. Does De La Salle over Bishop O'Dowd. De La Salle next week, well, they stay home in California. They will take on St. Francis of Mountain View, and for Bishop O'Dowd, they stay home in California as well, as they will take on Seaside. But 3-0 for De La Salle, and they have actually a big matchup in 2 weeks. They will be taking on a Bishop Gorman team. Struggling a little bit right now for 0-2 for the first time in since 2005. I was going to say in their history. That'd be a little bit of a stretch. But 0-2, Bishop Gorman just dropping a game to Centennial, which you can check out the highlights on PassportplayasTV. Subscribe on YouTube. Again, you can check out full game highlights there. But again, still be a very big matchup between De La Salle and Bishop Gorman. And before we get out of here, though, again, you can check out full game highlights on PassportplayasTV, but want to spotlight 2 players from DeMatha, from the Stags in Maryland, as they had a big win this week. They bounced back. They had a tough loss against St. Thomas Aquinas, but DeMatha bounces back with a win this week, and they were led by DeMarco Helms, the 6'1", 203-pound senior, the Alabama commit at safety. But guess what? He can get it done on both sides of the ball, which I'm sure obviously made him more marketable to everybody, but more appealing, I should say, marketable and appealing to everybody, but Alabama especially. He had 2 touchdown receptions, and the second one was just absolutely sick as he goes over the defensive back. Again, doesn't touch him, but just takes the ball away from the defensive back for his second touchdown. But he did cap the night off on the side of the ball he's going to Alabama for. Defense had a beautiful interception as he slides to his left to make the play, takes off down the sidelines, but gets stopped just short of the end zone at the 5-yard line. So a heck of a night there for the Alabama commit. But now his teammate, the junior, Marshawn Lloyd, the junior running back, had a touchdown here. 5'10", though, 210 pounds. This kid is a bowling ball, and he has a ton of interest. You can see why. Obviously, he can run between the tackles, but the way he moves, quickness there. He has 15 offers right now, stemming from USC, Penn State, Texas, Michigan State, Florida, Notre Dame, Auburn, Ohio State, Temple, Michigan, Boston College, South Carolina, Kentucky. And the first team that offered him, though, was Rutgers out of the Big Ten. We'll see now that those other a lot of those other big boys came in. We'll see what Marshawn Lloyd can do, but he has a little bit of time to decide. But again, and I'm sure the offers will keep flowing in for him. But DeMarco Helms, like I said, headed to Alabama, and Marshawn Lloyd for DeMatha. Just 2 more players to look out for this year. Again, like I said, if you want to get some, of some players are having big seasons, subscribe to Passport Playas TV on YouTube. Again, you can check out full game highlights. We have highlights here, but full game highlights on Passport Playas TV on YouTube. Subscribe to it. And again, give us some suggestions. We want to know who you're looking at, where they're going, where they're headed, the players of the next generation in college. And yes, do you feel some of these guys outside of quarterbacks can get to the pros? Because everybody's thinking the quarterbacks will get there, but we'll see. So again, Passport Playas TV on YouTube. Subscribe to it. We want to hear from you. That's going to do it for this edition of National Prep Stars Weekly. So glad you could join us. Again, like I said, go to Passport Playas TV and subscribe and check out full game highlights. I'm Michael Carrots Noodle. See you next time.